This weekend has major implications on the Atlanta Falcons' future. Going 1-2 so far this season, the number 3 team in this NFC South, we got to talk about these Atlanta Falcons and how they plan on righting the ship right now. They thought that getting rid of Younghoe Koo was going to, do the trick and everybody was going to get their heads on straight and get everything right. After that win in Minnesota, people were excited. I wasn't. And just putting it plainly, I feel as though this is par for the course. And what I mean by that is there were only 3 games to go off of with Michael Penix. We were not able to see if this young man was able to, well, not this young man, but as a team, we did not see how they came upon adversity and how they can adjust to it. Not only does Coach Raheem Morris, not only does the coaching staff, not only does the entire football team have to show themselves approved. You dig what I'm saying? I just feel as though it is time to really, really, really take a hard look. I honestly feel as though Raheem Morris should be on the hot seat. And we're going to talk about all of that. I'm going to dive into this last loss that we had to the Carolina Panthers, 30-0. They put a 30 ball on us, and we put a donut on the scoreboard. But we'll talk about that. And we'll also get into a lot of the most recent moves by the Atlanta Falcons. I had an opportunity to take a listen to the most recent interview that Coach Raheem Morris had with Dukes and Bell from 92.9 The Game. I also saw a lot of stuff that was said yesterday at Flowery Branch when the Atlanta Falcons, they held a press conference. They held the media up in Flowery Branch, and they had some hard-hitting questions for the Atlanta Falcons and for the coaching staff. So all in all, I just definitely want to get into it. But before we do that, definitely want to welcome you all into the show. I don't even have my hand claps real quick. Where my hand claps at? Yeah. Yes, welcome to the show. My name is Walter Pollard. This is AlphaMale Sports. He is I am him. I am he that they call the Alpha Male. I know you haven't heard that in a while. But we got to talk about it, man. 1-2 in the first 3 games. You take 2 losses in the NFC South. I mean, this is a total 180 from last year because, of course, last year around this time, let's just say around the first half of the season, we were looking at being number 1 in the division. The Atlanta Hawks basically seemed as if they ran through the division. But unfortunately, that's not the case for this season. Again, first loss was to the Buccaneers. They went up to Minnesota, got a win. In my opinion, I was indifferent about that game, mainly because, Bijan Robinson got off. The Falcons did show that they were capable of not only running the ball, but running the ball effectively, but they didn't score, at least until later on in the game. It was a lot of field goals. It was a field goal fest. You dig what I'm saying? And it wasn't until the Atlanta Falcons scored their only touchdown of the game and the only touchdown of the game amongst both teams did the game get out of reach for the Vikings. So I'm not surprised that, again, going on the road, that was 2 games on the road back to back. And to take a loss to the Carolina Panthers, I saw it in the beginning. There's a little weird feeling that I normally get when I'm watching the Falcons when I know that things aren't going to necessarily go the way that I would wish for them to go. And it just showed itself versus the Panthers last week. Michael Penix and the offense they weren't able to get things going. The wide receivers were definitely not getting the ball like they needed to. Guys weren't getting to the spot. And also they stopped running the ball. Now, one of the biggest things that a lot of people have been talking about is the pistol. We need to get out of the pistol. It's too predictable. And we'll get into all of that because I have a few things to get into that as well as just questions and stuff like that. But last weekend was just not in line with what the expectations were for the Atlanta Falcons this upcoming season. People were skeptical. People were on the fence, if you will, but it was not conducive to what the expectations were for the Atlanta Falcons. The majority of the blame did fall on offensive coordinator Zach Robinson. And again, they've had multiple different things come out about how he coached, or how, again, going into the end of last season when Michael Penix was brought into the game. Brought into the starting role. He took the job from Kirk Cousins. There was still an opportunity, a slim opportunity for the Falcons to get into the playoffs. But unfortunately, it was a little too late. And maybe that was that was the reason we did see a lot of success. This jersey is really big on me now. I just want to point that out. It's getting really big. I got to get another one. Shouts out to Julio Jones. But again, just a lot of different things came out this week as to people just trying to search and find reasons as to why the Atlanta. There were expectations. This was supposed to be a two-man race in the NFC South. It was going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who really looked like a freaking unit. And again, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this weekend, they step up to the plate to take on the Philadelphia Eagles and to see if they can, take a chance at the champs, if you will. But you had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and you had the Atlanta Falcons. They were going to be the two teams that could possibly take the NFC South. Right now, I don't see the Atlanta Falcons winning the NFC South this year either. And especially if they don't get things straightened out, and I mean quickly. You dig? But again, going back to Zach Robinson taking a lot of the blame, speculations of him leaving and possibly going to play at Oklahoma, not play, but coach at Oklahoma State, taking over the Oklahoma State job. Their coach. Well, they fired their coach, of course. He was most noticeably known for the infamous quote where he basically came at one of the reporters in a press conference. He said, "I'm a man, I'm 40." But anyway, with him leaving, Zach Robinson has been speculated. You've heard chammers of Zach Robinson returning to Oklahoma State, where he is an alum, to go back and to coach and take on the head coaching job there. You also have, the fact that the offense is stagnant. And yeah, I will say this is how I see it. The Atlanta Falcons, game one versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they were able to get on the board fast and early. And unfortunately, it was a well-played game, but they didn't stick with the run versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, mainly because, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took that away. And it exposed something with the Atlanta Falcons. It exposed that, number one, maybe we do need to work with Penix just a little bit longer. He might not necessarily be where we want him to be just yet, but I still think he can get there. I still think that Michael Penix is able to do what he do what he can do. This guy is still able to run. He is still able to throw. He has a very quick release. And, being a lefty, I understand that is a very difficult job in the NFL. But again, he was called out for having predictable plays, just bland, very vanilla play calling, and specifically the pistol formation. A lot of people have been talking about how the pistol formation takes away the play action, how the pistol formation makes it difficult, if you will, or even so much people were saying that teams see what you're doing, they know what you're doing, and yet you still go to certain plays or certain play formations, just not being innovative or creative with the weapons that you have. One of the things that I've often said these last few days is that, the Atlanta Falcons are like a Ferrari. Drake London, Michael Penix, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier. You have a two-back system. I saw a team in the Detroit Lions take a two-back system into Baltimore and hand it to the Ravens. Now, I mean, besides the fact that the defense put up a bunch of sacks on Lamar Jackson and forced a major fumble on Derrick Henry. But the point is that I believe if you have an effective two-back system, you should be able to run. You should be one of the top teams to run the ball. You should be one of the top teams in the NFL running-wise. Again, the offense looking stagnant. Zero adjustments from last season. It was a lot of blame falling on Zach Robinson. And then turning around and finding out that the Atlanta Falcons fired their wide receivers coach, Ike Hilliard. Was he the sacrificial lamb? Was he somebody that was sacrificed? Or is that a sign of more things to come? Does this show that, Raheem Morris is on the hot, or not even just Raheem Morris, Zach Robinson? Is Zach Robinson on the hot seat? And I know that there's going to be some weird conspiracy theorist or Falcon fan conspiracy theorist coming out and saying, Zach Robinson was just throwing his job so he could get up to Oklahoma State and coach. I'm not trying to search for answers like that. I would rather, ask the people straight to their faces, which would be the Atlanta Falcons. So my petition to the Falcons again is like, hey, was Ike Hilliard a sacrificial lamb? Who knows? It's just been a lot of mistakes. And things that should have been dealt with earlier in the season. Again, one of the things that prior to the beginning of this season, one of the issues that had been brought up was whether or not Michael Penix should play in the preseason, whether or not the starters should play in the preseason. As a matter of fact, a lot of starters did not touch the field in the preseason. And then you have the argument, well, the preseason is normally for, guys vying for a job. It's not really for the starters to get reps in practice before the season. That's why they bring in other teams. I don't know at this point. Maybe because the offense just doesn't seem like it's getting on. And I don't feel as though week 4 or bye week of the season should the offense start to click, because I'm telling you now, it only gets harder from here. You got the Commanders coming up this Monday, bye week, and then Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. And one of the things I've noticed is that the defense definitely has a hard time getting running quarterbacks down, right? Coming up against the Commanders this weekend is going to be a tough job, mainly because you got, Jaden Daniels did have limited practice yesterday or the day before yesterday. Yesterday. Jaden Daniels definitely had limited practice yesterday, so he could possibly be playing. Or you might have Marcus Mariota, who once was an Atlanta Falcons quarterback. And I ain't gonna lie. I mean, just playing against guys that once were on our sideline, we're not too good against them. I don't know how in the hell we lost to Arthur Smith last year. You dig what I'm saying? At home, but we did. And here we are again this year at home, and there's still a possibility that we could potentially be playing against not only a coach that coached for the Atlanta Falcons, took to a Super Bowl, but now you have Marcus Mariota, who could possibly be playing against the Falcons. And if he gets to running, if he gets to using his legs, I'm hoping that doesn't become an issue for the defense. So there's a lot of things going on. I mean, from time management to headphones or headsets to the receiving system inside of the quarterback's helmet. It's just a lot of things that should have been dealt with in the preseason, in my honest opinion. So now we know that these Atlanta Falcons have still got a lot of work to do, but we were sitting pretty. We were sitting pretty back in August before the season started. But with all that being said, because I can go all day. I really can go all day. I can talk about this all day. And I don't think me talking about this makes anything better, in my honest opinion. But you tell me what you guys think. Answer me down in the comments. Let me know how you guys feel about this, because I'm telling you, it is driving me nuts and I just can't see it. But I still have hope. I still feel as though the Atlanta Falcons can possibly right the ship. They just need to do it now, damn it. My name is Walter Pollard. This is AlphaMale Sports. He is I and I am him. I'm signing out. Peace.